Hey, what's up, guys? My name is Edgar again here in the Lei Tai project. And guess what? We have one of the best fighters in SANDA in the US that I ever met. And I'm glad to say that we are on the same team before. A really good guy. I know many of you know this guy. Once you hear his name, is this handsome guy here is Paris Moran from USA. Paris, thank you so much, man.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for having me, and I appreciate the kind words. I'm definitely not the best, but I'm chasing after it, man. But for real, thank you for having me, and thank you for just the great things that you said.
Man, of course, man. You have the record, in juniors, and then adults. You retire from Sanda with like KOs, like wins and wins. And honestly, since I met you, it's like this kid's gonna be something, in this combat sports. But bro, thank you. Uh, let's start. What's your name? Where you born? How do you start in Sanda? This is your podcast, and I know many people's waiting for this podcast.
So my name's Paris Moran. I started training martial arts in 2007. So when I was 11 years old, started doing jujitsu. My dad put me in there just because, dude, I was like a shy kid, just playing video games, kind of nerdy, dorky, whatever, And I didn't get picked on or anything, but I was just a really shy kid, just kept to myself, didn't have much confidence. So my dad just put me into martial arts, specifically jujitsu, to kind of break me out of my shell. And I hated it at first. I was getting beat up. I hated going. I was crying. I wanted to go home, play my video games and stuff. 11-year-old kid, and didn't expect to be, where I am today. But probably about a year or two in, my dad was like, "Hey, let's go ahead and start doing some striking." So Professor Alex Cisne was at the gym that I was training at the time, and so I went ahead and started learning striking, which was SANDA through him, and it just kind of snowballed and took off from there. I fell in love with that and fell in love with punching people in the face and getting hit too. I didn't like that part, but that's why I tried not to get hit. And it I always looked up to him because he was a role model and still is a role model. He's like my dad. I see him all the time. He's like a father to me. So, but as a kid, I looked up to him and I was like, man, like I want to be on Team USA too, just how he is. And he was just a perfect man, perfect role model, great coach, great husband, just trainer, everything. And so just seeing him how he was really inspired me to be, I guess, the best athlete that I can be too. And so he was like, look, Paris, like, you just stay with it and keep training and keep showing up and you'll be just where I am too. You'll be a national champion and compete. And shit, I just trusted in his word and just kept showing up. I was like 13, 14 probably at the time, and just kept showing up. And, whatever he told me to do, I did it. And hey, let's go compete. Okay, cool. Let's go. And yeah, that's what we did.
Man, and that's great because Alex Cisne is also one of the, like, you have a really good coach, and I know Alex Cisne is one of the best guys actually. We call him the Captain American team, and
Yeah.
uh, and I know that's influenced a lot of people,
Hmm.
even myself. I remember I met him in 2009 in Canada. He was fighting with the USA team, and I was with the Mexico team, and I remember like very very humble guy, and yeah, he's very good athlete too, man. And then how this you mentioned something about like you being that shy guy, and I think many people, many fighters, even myself, like we had that kind of life when we was a kid. How do
Yeah.
you how do you can you explain to the new generation about like if martial arts really help, to change your life and to be a leader?
Hmm. Oh, you say how? It helped in the sense of really building my confidence and trusting in myself and kind of doing some. I wouldn't say soul searching because I was too young to understand that, but really just trying to find who I was, at a young age. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I wasn't good at any sports, anything like that. And so when I found martial arts, it kind of gave me something to look forward to, and a purpose, and discipline on the mats, because whenever you showed up, you had to be there on time and respectful to everybody, and treat all your teammates and family, like treat them like family, so it teaches you a good solid base foundation of just morals, work ethic, and discipline, and all of that stuff, and they all go hand in hand together. um and that's really what kind of helped me break out of my shell a little bit. And then also on top of that was getting the confidence of, hey, I can do this. Hey, I can compete with these guys. Hey, I can show up and I can beat them too. Not that I necessarily had to win every training, like training sessions you don't win, but you know what I mean? Like as a
Yeah.
kid, you're like, you don't want to get submitted all the time, or you don't want to get beat up the whole time. So once I saw that I was able to do to them what they were doing to me, it kind of built up my confidence. And not in the sense of like, oh, I'm going to go walk around and try and beat everybody up, but it gave me self-esteem, and it built up the confidence in me, and saying like, hey, you can hold your own, like you can do all of this too. you know Nobody's going to mess with you. Like nobody did mess with me, but if they did, I knew that I could defend myself.
Yes.
And then not only that, but you know competing and training with a team, it gives you that family bond, that team bond. And that really helped, I guess, just build up my confidence and just trust in myself.
Yeah, man, that's true. Like confidence, discipline, and I think that's what the generation from today is what they need. Because there's many
Yeah.
values that people are not following. You know what I mean. And
Sure.
I think you are a role model because you live in Houston, right?
Yeah, I'm in Houston. Yeah.
And man, how do you start? I know your dad is one of your pillars. So
Yeah,
how everything started, because I know he's a great coach, also physical coach, right?
for sure. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And can
He's the
you tell
strength
us
and
about
conditioning
that
coach.
connection?
Yeah, and he knows a lot too about martial arts, and but yeah, my dad has been there with me. Both my parents, have been there with me, through everything. But my dad is the one who's a personal trainer, and he's the one who got me started in martial arts. And it kind of just started out just my dad picking me up every day and taking me to train, and that was kind of like our way of hanging out because my parents were separated.
Oh,
Like, so I only got to see my dad every Tuesday and every other weekend. So what I did was, or what my dad did was, he would pick me up every day and take me to the gym, and bring me bring me food before the training session, and make sure I had all my water and hydrated and clean clothes. And so it was a time for us to hang out, but then also he saw the progression that I was making. And I mean, it just kind of picked up and kept going and turned into what it is today. My dad would take me to the gym and just watch for hours, and then my dad was always into strength and conditioning and training people, but it kind of just, it grew into something more than that, because my dad got into being a personal trainer and getting clients and running his own business. And it turns out that he runs his business out of the MMA gym that I train at. So, first he would go with me and take me to the gym and stay there with me all the time and not be working. And then, later on, he started training clients, and then he's working there at that gym. So it's like me and him are always together. And so, if your dad's a personal trainer and one of the best, then that's who I'm going to train with too. So it works out. We get to spend a lot of time together, and sometimes we butt heads on little shit, but nothing too crazy. But
but
that's family though.
yeah,
They're
but
going to tell you how it is.
yeah, that's the key. I have many podcasts that they said the same. Like, hey, my daddy was a trainer, and then he brought me here. And that connection is very important, because some of them they are world champions right now, or they're
Mhm.
top 3 in the world, and you are one of those, because we're gonna talk about your career in Sanda. How do you start, with nationals, and then Pan Americans, and then World Games, and then University Games, right?
Yeah. 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 I think it started out with nationals. I competed there a few times, and I got selected to go compete for it was the junior world championships first. And
Oh,
I don't know what year that was. That was probably 2013 or so, and that was in trying to see what part. Where was I? I was in China. That was in Macau. I
oh
think
yeah,
that was in
yeah.
Macau when we went, and that was a great experience, man. I the luck of the draw. The first fight that I had, I fought a guy from Vietnam, and I think whenever he saw USA, he was like, "Oh man, this is gonna be an easy match. Like I got an easy, win to the next round." And I gave him a great fight. We went at it. I took him down, pushed him out. He pushed me out. It was a really close fight, but he did edge me out, and he won. And I think he actually ended up winning that whole tournament or placing second. I'm not too sure. But that was my first experience ever competing internationally, and I was so nervous. And I fought against one of the best in the world, and me and him, we have each other on Facebook, so I still keep up with him. And yeah, he actually kept on competing too. So over the years, the next 5 years later, I would see him at world championships, and we would compete in the same division, or maybe he was one weight class heavier than me. So it was just a really good learning experience, being able to not only compete at the highest level, but then also meet others from around the world who have the same goal as you, or the same, I guess, like drive and love for the sport, the passion for it. But another thing that was really cool too is I got to, see the world and see other countries and see how other people live, and really just appreciate. It opens your eyes because you can see how other people live in China, or whenever I was in Macau, and really makes you appreciate everything else that you have back home too. So
Yeah, and that's very important. The vision when you are in the different country, you have like all the vision and mission opens, and more when you're an athlete.
yeah.
I think that happens to me too. But man, so you had your first experience in the World Games, and then how that changed, the way of to compete in nationals, and did you have more hungry? You want more, or it's like let's say what happens.
No, it definitely motivated me and inspired me to be better, because I was like, it was really eye opening to see how good, the top of the top were, at that level at my age. And instead of it, and this kind of goes hand in hand with some of the losses, or one of the losses that I've taken, in MMA. And so this is just who I am as a person. And after I lost that tournament, I was really upset with myself. And it was, some people would be like, "Oh man, I'm going to give up. I'm not good enough for this," or whatever. And for me, I was like, I was inspired. I was like, "Yo, these guys are training so hard. They're so good. If they can do it, I can do that too." So I came back home and I just upped my training even more, as a young kid, and just tried to be the best version of myself that I could.
Yeah, man. I remember when I met you. I think it was in 2014 in Lubbock in nationals, and you still in junior, and
Yeah,
then we met again in the Costa
Costa
Rica.
Rica. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember that too. Yeah,
yeah, man. Well, you know what
good
happens with
times,
me.
man. Good times.
Yeah, good times, and I was very, very, very glad to be there. Unfortunately, I couldn't compete because of the
Mhm.
Mexico team,
Yeah.
but seeing you, all the team, Cisne, you like getting the golds, and many other guys, I was really, really, I was happy for you guys.
Yeah.
It was a good, it was a good tournament for US. I remember a good experience, and I can tell how do you start your evolution as a fighter,
Mhm.
because after that you like a skyrocket, bro. And what happens for you in Costa Rica? Because I know you had really good fights.
Yeah. I mean, leading up to Costa Rica, and even before I went to Nanjing, when I met Coach Lee has had a big influence in my career, and my progression as an athlete too. So really grateful and thankful to have crossed paths with such a great man. You know, he's just like another dad to me too. He's taught me so much just about SANDA and life as well. He's a great leader, great coach.
Yeah.
And so I would go out there and I would train with him, you know, maybe for 2 or 3 weeks at a time during the summertime, and getting myself prepared for these tournaments, because he competed back in China and he knows what it takes, you know, and so does Alex as well. They both know what it takes. But just having both of them kind of mentor me and teach me and, you know, help guide me through it really had a big impact on where I am, you know, and how I got better. But as far as for the Pan American Games, I got gold at that tournament. I remember I believe I fought somebody either from Mexico first, or it was Brazil first, and then I fought the other one in the finals. I forgot what it was. But I won all of those fights decisively. I think that was at 60 kilos. And
Yeah.
that was a really good time, man. Now I think that was my last amateur, or not amateur, I'm sorry, my last youth competition. And then right before that, I fought in, I think like maybe a month before that, I fought in the university games as well.
And
So
how's that?
I went to university games, and then I went over there, and the university games was awesome, man. It was a huge tournament. Um, all the big countries, all the big names, they were all there, and everyone was competing. And I medaled at that tournament too. So I got third there. And in the, I'm trying to think about who I lost to in the semifinals. Dude, I might have lost to the same Vietnamese dude. I don't know. I gotta go back and this was 10 years ago, you know, so I gotta go back and see who it was that I lost to. But yeah, I got third there at that tournament. So that was
Man,
awesome too.
but at the end, you know how's this? Many people judge when like, oh, he went to an international tournament and he getting the win. Man, people don't know about the level,
Yeah.
and maybe you can tell about like if you like the difference between MMA fighters, Sanda fighters, multi fighters, jiu-jitsu fighters. You know, because you have all those skills,
Mhm.
and what people don't know is how hard it is to compete against like Chinese athlete,
Yeah.
Vietnamese athlete, Indian athlete, because we both, I think we both, we fought one of the Indian fighters. I think I
Yeah.
think you fought that guy too, the one that I fought in Indonesia, and they're very, they live for this, you
And they
know,
get paid for this.
and they get, yes, and they get paid for this, and
Yeah.
we in America is just for love, you know, because we
For
love
love of the
this.
sport. Yeah.
Yeah, and how do you, because um how can you explain this to people, because like what is just your perspective about like, okay, I have my life, I need to go school,
Mhm.
I need to go work, I
Mhm.
train maybe 2 3 hours a day, and then I still need to go and compete for free, you know.
Yeah. Not even just compete for free. You got to pay for yourself to get there.
Yeah, well, yeah, that for free, for that, yeah, I'm sorry, that's what I mean, like for free, because we paid everything, right? And they
Yeah.
got paid, and it's like you need to win because you're
Yeah.
getting you getting paid, you are in the payroll, but not
Yeah.
to us. We have to pay
It's
everything.
it's it's definitely different, you know, because over here, like you said, you know, you have school, you have work, you have this, you have a family, you have to go do this and do that. And you know, after I competed internationally for the first time or second time, and I really got to understand, like, oh shit, these guys literally would eat, sleep, and breathe
Yeah,
Sanda, you know, and that's all they did, and that's all they got paid for to do. And so they didn't have to worry about working, didn't have to worry about school, nothing else. Like they would even live at the training center
yeah,
and get paid. So for me, being able to compete and hang with those guys in the sense of like, you know, I would beat some of them. I wouldn't beat all of them. I would beat most of them or beat some of them. And you know, the greats, those guys would beat me. And for me to be able to keep up with them and be able to compete with them at a high level, um, that's a win for me in my book when I was younger, you know, because I was like, oh, these guys, they don't have anything else to do, you know, and for me, I have to go to school, I have to go hang out with my family, or you know, like I live at home and I gotta go train wrestling because I was focusing on MMA at the same time too, you know, so
yeah,
being able to hang and compete with those guys that literally eat, sleep, and breathe that, that was a win to me. But also, I didn't make that as an excuse, like, oh, I can't do this because I have to do that. So
Yeah.
I, as I got older and once I graduated high school, that's whenever I made the commitment to be like, hey, no, this is my full time thing. Because if I want to take it to the next level and to the top and compete with these guys, I have to do what they're doing. Because if not, then I'm going to be left behind. So I'm going to be wasting my time.
Yeah, and that's not easy. Like for like everyone in America, I think in all the continent, like we have the same situation. Even Brazilian guys, Mexican guys, whatever. Like, uh, I hope one day Sanda got like a professional here in US, and we have that sponsors, whatever. But
Yeah.
yeah, I know it's hard, but man, so in your career, so after you went to Nanjing also, and then you jumped to adults. How was your transition from junior to adults?
The transition, it wasn't too major for me because I always train and spar with adults. So it wasn't a big shock to me. Um, are you there? My bad, my phone lagged a little bit. I don't know if that was me or you.
Yeah,
Cool.
no, I'm good. Yeah, it's fine.
It wasn't too much of a big shock for me because I've been training my whole life and I've been training with adults, sparring with adults, competing with adults. So it was just another day. The nerves were the same. It wasn't anything, out of the ordinary. And then competing with them and beating them, it wasn't a big deal either. I was just like, man, it's just a different division. But yeah, like going to the adults and then, competing again with the best in the world. That's what I look forward to, and that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to fight the best people that it was, have the most exciting fights and most entertaining fights, win, lose, or draw, just gonna give it my all and keep pushing. I remember when was this? This was I think I fought him in Russia. I fought the kid from Russia. His name's Ali Magomedov, I believe his
Oh,
name is. Yeah.
yeah,
That
wow.
guy's really good too, man, so just being able to compete and hang with those guys was a win in my book, so
Yeah, man. That guy Ali is like, I know many people, like, everyone in Sanda knows this name. And man, you had really good experience competing against the best of the best,
yeah.
like, because honestly, like, um in my case, like every time I compete someone from different country, whatever happens, if I win or lose, as you said, it's a win in my book, because at the end, it like, we don't have that competition level
Yeah.
America, and then you jump, international level, and then, like, oh man, you realize, like, bro, it's a good experience. Because me as a coach right now, is what I do. Like, all the bad experience or good experience, what I do is just like, hey, don't do this to
Mhm.
my students. And that's why my students, they have a good level, international level, and they have a better skills, in the Lei Tai. And that's true, bro. And hey, Paris, and then what was your so you jumped to adult, and then what was your first, or I don't know, I don't remember how many adults international competitions you got, but how was that, man? Because you fought Ali and then Russian, then I think you went to other competition, right?
I think I'm trying to, man, it's been so long.
Yeah.
um I think my last big international tournament was after
Taiwan?
I fought Ali, huh?
Is not in Taiwan? No.
No, Taiwan was before. Taiwan was like a month or so before. I
Yeah.
fought in Taiwan, and then after Taiwan, I went to Russia.
Okay. And then Taiwan, you
Correct.
fought who? India.
Taiwan, I fought Philippines first, and did I medal in Taiwan? I think I did. Trying to see who I fought first. I know I fought the Philippines first, and then after that, I'm trying to see who it was that I fought.
It was in India.
No, it wasn't. Maybe no, I fought India and Russia. I think
Oh, okay.
it could have been. It could have been Taiwan. I don't remember. I get hit in the head, so that's my
It's fine.
excuse.
It's fine. I know. It's fine. It's fine. Now, but at the
Yeah.
end experience, man, and then, so that was your last, and then you start focus on MMA.
Correct. Yeah.
How was that transition from, because, well, as you said, like, we are like your curriculum is you're training in a MMA gym,
Mhm.
but with striking, sanda striking, and then boxing, and then jiu-jitsu. And how, man, I don't know, man. I need to say, I need to say this, but many people who transition from sanda to MMA, they say like, I always use sanda, you know,
Mhm.
in my striking, and that helps a lot. How can you explain that? I don't know what is your bet, because you can see this picture, your sidekicks, your sanda sidekicks, and then when I saw your pictures, when I watch your picture, your fights, it's like you using sanda all the time.
Yeah.
And why is that?
Um. So I mean, I uh I love samba. So I mean, I try to implement that into the cage, that rhythm, that speed, the counters, the timing of all of that stuff. I mean, I've done it for so long. And I kind of make a twist on it too. I don't just fight that way, You have to kind of take a little bit of everything, and I made it my own. Um but just from all the experience and the years of training, I've done every martial art. I'm great on the feet. I'm great wrestling. I'm great on the ground. I'm great on the cage. Anywhere that you put me, I'm solid. But I prefer to strike because the level of hold on, my phone's messing up. On the go is an audio. Oh, I guess I got to add. My bad. I don't know what. I guess Google gave me an ad. I was wondering what that was, but yeah, like my level of striking compared to everybody else that was on the regional scene, especially starting out as an amateur, it was just a night and day difference. So I was like, dude, why even take them down? Like, why use my jujitsu when I can just keep punching them and kicking them in the face and they can't hit me? So that's what I did. I would just outstrike them, and it felt really good. And everyone just labeled me as a striker, and I don't even know if they know that I have wrestling and jujitsu. I just hardly ever use it for a few reasons, but two of the main or some of the main reasons why I don't use it as much is just I love punching people in the face. Like the fans love to see the blood. They don't want
Yeah,
to see you take somebody down and hold them down. And B, the level difference of my striking versus their striking was so vast that like, man, I was like, man, why would I go anywhere else? Like, I'm gonna beat you up where you can't even touch me. Like I look at it as like a path of least resistance, and so I would always use my striking and my sanda to just, beat people up.
yeah, man. And to all, like everyone who's watching this on YouTube and or listening in Spotify, so Paris, if you know Muslim Salikov, if you know all the Chinese guys who's fighting right now in UFC, is what we're talking about. Like it's the same skills, the same sport, what they're doing,
Mhm.
like Muslim Salikov, and that's very valuable. But I prefer to strike, than go and do jiu-jitsu, because I have friends like who's like they also do MMA, and they say like, man, I don't need to go to the ground. I just punch kick, and they don't know because they want to go to do jiu-jitsu,
Yeah,
and you don't know how to counter me.
yeah.
And it's a big tool for you. And how do you feel that? Because and I still like many people think like if you only have good jiu-jitsu, that's enough,
Mhm.
and I know that's not.
Nope.
And you're just telling us like why you feel that, and you don't need to talk about more, because I know it's your strategy, but yeah, man, many people, if you see Wei Li and other Chinese guys who's fighting in UFC, their Sanda skills is why they are in the top three.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't mind. I mean, I'll tell you why I love to strike. Like I was saying, just because the level is just so much. There's just, like you said, there's levels to it, and you can feel the levels too, So when you're striking with somebody and you're hitting them and they're not able to hit you, you can tell they're like, oh shit, what am I gonna do now? So they try and start going crazy to take you down, or their plan starts going out the window. And I wrestled my whole life as well, and
Yeah.
so for me, I can either a take them down, right? And I'm like, why would I do that? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love wrestling and I love jujitsu. I've been doing it for 17 years, so like, why not? But the best feeling for me is like when people try to take me down because they can't hang with the striking. They try and take me down and then they can't, like, because my wrestling defense is so good. I'll I'll be hitting them, and they can't take me down, right? So you feel their confidence going like this, and that's when you start to pick it up. You start putting the pressure back onto them. So once they're like, oh shit, that was my plan. Now what do I do?
And that's very like a psychological game. Is
Yeah,
what, as you said, what I'm going to do, what
yeah.
I'm going
You
to counter. I
feel it.
can't do this guy. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
In the fight, you can feel all of that stuff. You can feel their frustration. You can feel their hesitation. They're getting antsy. All of that stuff. You can feel all of that in the fight.
Man, and like in this picture, man, what was that feeling like? Can you tell us about this fight?
Yeah, that was actually a spinning back kick that I hit on this guy. This guy was really good. Um, he had a lot of power in his hands, just in his punches. So for me, I wanted to pick him apart and just stay away from the power. But it's funny because the guy that I'm fighting in 4 weeks just fought this guy that you see too. So we both beat him, and so it'll be a good fight.
It's gonna be a good fight, man. And how many? What is your record in MMA right now?
I'm 10-2 now as a pro. So this will be my 13th professional fight.
Wow, man. How do you feel
Yeah.
about that, man? But like starting as you say, like I know your dad, he was a taekwondo athlete,
Mhm.
and then you also do taekwondo.
No, I didn't. I mean, I did, but I don't consider it training taekwondo because I did it for like 2 days.
Okay,
I was
so
like 7 years old, and my dad brought me in there, and maybe 7, 8 years old. I don't remember exactly. And my dad brought me in, and I was like, "Yeah, this ain't it. I ain't gonna do this."
yeah, no, but and the reason why I'm saying this is because man, you have a lot of skills like boxing,
Mhm.
uh you have sanda, you have jiu-jitsu, you have wrestling. So man, you're very like all around athlete. That's very good in this sport. But can you, there's some always I always do this question. I always make this question, but sacrifice.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about sacrifice in your life to be in the place that you are right now?
Oh, dude, I've sacrificed everything. um,
I know,
shit.
I know.
I mean, so I mean, if we can just talk about recent, I mean, there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make, if you want to, if this is for the kids and, the younger people that are listening, if you want to take it to the top and you want to take it to the next level and be considered one of the best, one of the greats, you have to sacrifice a lot of stuff. You're going to miss out on a lot of big occasions. You're going to miss out on family gatherings, friends' birthday parties, weddings, shit. Like there's so many things, and you can go to them, right? But should you go is the thing, because if you're there, you're not resting, you're not training. You literally have to eat, sleep, and breathe this, because if you don't, you're going to get exposed. And in the cage, you're going to get exposed, right? Not in life, but in the cage. And with that, you can really get hurt. Um, so I made the sacrifice a year and a half ago to quit my job after I lost, so I wanted to go all in. After I lost one of my MMA fights, it was like a make or break for me, like winning this fight would have put me in the UFC. And, the guy that I lost to, he's in the UFC now. He's 3-0 or 4-0. I'm not too sure, so that goes to show for me, like, hey man, like I'm right there too. So after I lost that fight, I came home, and that same night I made a plan. I was like, dude, I have to figure out what I can do at all costs to be the best version of myself. Where am I spending time that I shouldn't be? Where am I, not doing enough? Where am I doing too much of one? Where could I balance this out and really take myself to the next level? And so I quit my job. I started training with Eve Edwards, who was in the UFC for a long time. He's got like 60 MMA fights, and there's a lot of guys that fight in the UFC that train over there at his gym. And so I was like, hey man, like I need to make a switch, and not a complete switch, like I still train with Alex all the time, the same people. I'm with the same people that I started with, but I branched out to get a different perspective. just to better myself, better my training, better my experiences, better my training partners. That's another thing too, is like training partners is number one. Like you need to have the best training partners. And not to get sidetracked, I'll go back to the sacrifices, but when we're talking about all the other top countries in the world, you're talking about China, Russia, Vietnam, all those greats, they have a whole team and a whole roster of athletes. They have 3 people for one weight class, so like think about how many weight classes there are and how many athletes that they have to compete with, and every single one of them is amazing, so putting yourself around those type of people, and people that beat you up, that's what you want. You want to be able to learn from those experiences and those losses and those ass whoopings, so to say, but it just comes from sacrifice, man. Like I have friends, don't get me wrong. I don't get a chance to spend that much time with my friends outside of the gym, because I'm training all the time. I hang out with my family as much as I can, but it's not much because I'm training all the time. My girlfriend knows, hey, like I can't go do anything because Monday through Saturday I'm training 6 hours a day. So it's hard for me to do anything else, but this is the life that I chose. And so if I want to be the best and I want to get to the UFC, become a champion, make a lot of money, I have to give it all that I can right now. And if you don't, the truth is going to show, like, hey, this guy didn't do everything that he could do. And sometimes you can do everything that you want, like everything right, and still lose. And that's just the nature of the game. The fight game will never love you, and that's the unfortunate part. But for me, what's important is giving it my all, dissecting my life, saying, hey, don't go do this. Hey, you need to go do this. Spend more time training this martial art, doing this, and that. And really being honest with yourself. Because at the end of the day, when you're laying down in bed, it's just you and your mind. And you can lie to other people and say you're doing this, and that, and really not be. But the truth will show, and the truth will talk to you, so to speak.
Yeah.
So I just really looked at my life and saw where could I go in even more after that loss, and that's what I did, man. So now I just training 24/7, and that's the goal, and that's the life that I live, man. It's just life of an athlete.
And I'm very, your words touch me a lot, in a good way, because when we talk about sacrifices, as you said, like I really, like in my case, I really don't think what people think, about, like, when they judge, because everyone judge until they are in the Lei Tai or in the octagon, or even like there's a lot of people judging and they not even can handle 1 hour training, and you're talking about your life, you're talking about your health, you're talking about your bones, your everything, your muscles, and
Your
every time
brain.
you go into an octagon. I'm sorry.
Your brain.
Your brain, yeah, actually, yes.
Yeah,
um and there's what many people don't know, like that's why you are a full-time employee, from to be a fighter,
for
it's,
sure.
it's not like I'm an entrepreneur, no, because you're doing everything to be the champ. And I like that, because the way you are explaining, your sacrifice, it's the way that a champion needs to be, and what are your goals right now, man? Like after this, you told me that you have a competition, another fight in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
What are your goals? Can you talk about that, or you can't? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I can definitely talk about it. So I have a fight on June 9th against Freddie Rodriguez, and that's gonna be a good fight, man. He's a tough competitor, and I know that he's training hard to beat me. And guess what? I'm training hard to beat him too.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be exciting. And so if all goes as planned, the way that I would want it to go, I beat Freddie, finish him, however it is, knockout, TKO, submission. I don't care. I need to get a finish. Need to whoop him. And then after that, get a contender series call. So fight on Dana White's contender series sometime between August and October. You know, they run it middle of August to the middle of October. So if I could get through Freddie, finish him, get a call for contender series, do that as well, and then win that fight, get a contract in the UFC, and then fight in the UFC before the end of the year. You know, that's 3 more fights in, I don't know, 6.5 months. That's the perfect way for it to kind of
Man.
unfold for me, man. So just gotta stay disciplined, stay focused, and keep training my ass off, and everything else will follow.
And just remember, like, there's a lot of people, including myself. We really, I'm following you, everyone. You know, every time, man. And every time you fight or you're gonna fight, I send my vibes in a good way.
Thank you.
And I always said, I know one day my son going to wear your shirt like about Paris Moran, in UFC fight.
Yeah,
But because one, I know, I know one day you're gonna be there. You're gonna be in one of those leagues, and you're gonna make that change, in all the SANDA athletes in US right now, because you are, and like what you're doing right now, it's not what anyone else wants to do it, because there's a lot of sacrifice.
it's
and
hard,
and
man. It's not an easy life. It's hard.
it's not, of course not, like
Yeah,
um I'm talking about myself. Like, I have a family, I have 2 kids, I have a wife, I
yeah,
have this, I have a business. Of course, man, it's not the same thing. You need to be commit, and
yeah,
sometimes there's people that they don't like to be commit.
yeah.
And what you're doing right now is you're changing the whole story about Sanda fighters. And
That's awesome.
congratulations, man, because
Thank you.
you're helping to others to
Yeah.
take that step. And actually, that's one of the last questions that I want to make here, and is, what is your advice for those Sanda fighters who wants to jump, or make that transition to MMA
Man,
in
before
US?
we even get into that, I was going to talk about Vincent. You know, Vincent Meng has
Yeah,
been competing. He's been competing in MMA and competing in Taekwondo.
yeah,
There was like some Taekwondo fight that he did. Like, I don't know, it's like a Taekwondo combat. So it was weird. Like, they had, like, I think they were in a cage and they had MMA gloves on. And dude, he
yeah.
flew out to Brazil and got a
Brazil.
win. And so I was really happy for him, man. And I mean, he reached out to me, hey, bro, how can I start fighting MMA, or, what do I need to do? And so, yeah,
Yeah,
I mean, it's the same thing. It kind of goes hand in hand, like for people who want to make that switch, or they want to add in fighting MMA, in between their Sanda competitions or whatever the
yeah,
case is. And my advice is just to do it. Like if you procrastinate and you think all the time, like, oh man, what can I do? How should I do this? Like, you're gonna spend so much time thinking about it versus just doing it. Just tell yourself, hey, I'm gonna fight. I'm going to give myself X amount of time to prepare, in the sense of making sure that you do have wrestling, making sure that you do know jujitsu, because you don't have to be an expert in it, but you do need to understand what to do. Because if you're just a striker and someone knows that, they're going to take you down and they're going to beat you on the ground because you have no experience. You can't get up. You're going to get beaten down there, So my advice first would be, um, to train those other disciplines, get familiar with all those disciplines, like, some wrestling, jujitsu, boxing, kickboxing, do all of that stuff, get your feet wet, really understand how to do it, and spar MMA. Go somewhere that has a really good MMA program. Because like I said earlier, man, I really am a firm believer in, like, your training partners make you, and don't get me wrong, coaches and all of that is very, very important, but just as important, like right there with it, is your training partners. Because if you don't have any training partners, you don't have anybody that is gonna beat you up, push you, make you better. If you're beating everybody up the whole time, you're not growing. Like one of my coaches always said, you need 3 different type of partners. You need someone who's better than you need someone who's at your level, and you need someone who's below you. The person below you, you can try new stuff on, you can move around and kind of be comfortable, and try and just try some different techniques that you can't try on somebody else who's better than you. And you don't try and hurt these people, but this is just training and
Yeah.
just growing as an athlete and growing as a fighter and understanding fight IQ, you know. But man, my advice is just find a place that offers MMA, start training it, and go for it and just do it, you know. And win, lose, or draw, you keep showing up, you keep putting in that work and keep pushing. And dude, it's all gonna happen. It's all gonna unfold the way that it should, as long as you do everything that you can.
Yeah, man, and yeah, thank you for the advice. And yes, Vincent is doing great. He's
Dude, he's
also
killing it.
he's doing great. He's winning, and I love his kicks. Like he's yeah, he have all those skills also. You know, he have the chance to
Yes.
train MMA, to train boxing, to train Sanda with Coach
Yep.
Lee. Like he's actually, I think he went with you, right? With you guys one like a few years
Yeah,
ago.
he came out here in the summertime, you know, and so he stayed out here and trained with us, and he's always welcome. I mean, I talk to him still, you know, occasionally, and if he ever hits me up and he's like, "Hey, Paris, I want to come out there and train," you know, me, Alex, Gabby, we're all like, "Dude, come on, like we got you, you know, come out here." And we love to help. And I love Vincent, man. He's a great guy. He's a great
Yeah,
athlete, great role model, great leader, and great competitor too. You know, like you said, his kicks are phenomenal, man. Like he's a phenomenal athlete, and his kicks are just amazing. He hit me with a few of them before, and I was like, "Fuck, those hurt in training." You know, when he came down a few years ago. Uh,
yeah,
yeah, it's just great to see, man. It's just great to see the evolution of the sport and just people um, really just growing into, you know, where we are now.
yeah, man. And I know Gavi also. Greetings to Gavi. He's another. He was a Sanda fighter before. Right now, he's
Yeah,
MMA fighter, and he's
yeah.
doing great too, right?
Hell yeah, he's doing really good, man. He's 6-2. That's my boy. That's my brother too. Like he and I train together
Yeah,
all the time. Like I see him probably 5 days a week, maybe. And it's been me and him together since the Sanda days. You know,
yeah,
like me and him have been competing in Lubbock and competing at, you know, world championships. We went to Russia together, and so we've kind of been on this journey together. And that's a great feeling and a great experience to have somebody that you love, and you know, you guys both share the same love for the sport, and you can push each other and grow. And that's one of my main training partners, man. You know, so you need somebody who's great to push you, and he's that guy, you know. And it's good to see him, you know, making his waves and blowing up in the MMA world. And he's got a big fight coming up too, you know. So he and I fight a lot together, like on the same cards, you know. So like if he's fighting, I'm fighting. And it was always like that, even from the amateur days, you know, like both of us fighting as an amateur, we'd both fight in the same card, you know. So we've done this together for a long time. You know, it's been a long journey, he and I. And I mean, we're still just getting started. We're not even anywhere near where we want to be yet. So yeah, being able to do it with him is great. And he's got a big fight coming up the weekend right after me. So
oh,
I'm
okay,
fighting.
awesome.
I'm fighting first, and then he's fighting right after me. And we both fight for the same organization. So we both fight for Fury, and I fight at 125, and he fights at 135. So yeah,
Man, best wishes for you guys, because
thank you.
I know Gabby, he's a really good fighter also.
Yeah,
And man, I know one day, man, you're doing great, man. It's just I
thank
don't
you.
know how to explain this, but you're
This
doing
takes time.
awesome, man. You're doing
Right.
awesome, bro. It's
Thank
as you
you.
said, it takes time. It's a lot of sacrifice, goals, vision, your
Yeah.
mission, and it's not easy. And right now, the good thing is you have, you know, your life very concentrate. You're concentrated in what you want. You have your girlfriend. You still don't have kids, so that's another good thing, you know, because you know you are
Yeah.
focused on what you're doing right now, man. We wish you the best, man. So
Thank you.
before we leave, is there something that you want to add, you know, just for, you know, closing this podcast? And where can we find you? I don't know, Instagram, if people wants to contact you in the future, or I don't know, man.
For sure. I mean, one thing that popped into my mind before we even close everything out was, you know, you're talking about me and Gabby, right, competing and everything too. But there's another guy, Tony Toro. Tony
Oh
Toro
yeah.
competed at the national level too. He never competed internationally, But Tony has been up there too. You know, Tony is really good, and Tony's doing his thing MMA as well. So, you know, you got
Yeah,
me,
yeah, yeah,
Gabby,
yeah, yeah.
and Toro. We all train together. You know,
Yeah, I
shoot,
remember him. Yeah,
multiple times a week.
yeah, he compete in juniors. I remember, and then I
Yeah,
saw that he was training with you and Aaron. Actually,
yeah,
greetings to Aaron too.
yeah.
And yeah, that's the three musketeers, right?
That's us, man. Yeah, bro. And
Man,
so he fights for Fury as well. You know, so we all fight for Fury. He fights at 145. So you got me 125, Gabby 135, him at 145, and I think he's 3-1 now as a pro. He just got a big win this past weekend against the guy who's, or like maybe a few weekends ago, against the guy who's 5-1. So you know, we're all doing our thing, and we're all just trying to be the best versions of ourselves, man.
man, awesome.
Thank you, bro.
Yeah, man,
But as
awesome.
far
So,
as, go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, man. I just wanted to say thank you to you for having me on here, and
Thank you.
everybody that I've crossed paths with in the Sanda life. You know, the world. Coach Lee has been, you know, an amazing influence on me. Professor Alex Cisne, great influence on me. Both guys are like dads to me, man. I've had so many amazing childhood memories of just being with those two guys, whether it's internationally or in Lubbock or here in Houston. You know, I'm forever grateful for them, and all of the competitors and friends and teammates, you know, and the bonds that I've shared with everybody on the USA team. I mean, there's too many people to even go down the list of people that I've
Yeah.
met, you know, but everyone that I've crossed paths with, they know like I love them, and I am just so proud of everybody and just really appreciate the support and the drive and just everything from everyone, man. And it's just a great life, you know, and you just gotta keep doing what you can do and keep pushing day in and day out, whether you want to do it or not. Just get up and go to the gym, and that'll, you know, fix all your problems, man. And then yeah, just blessed to live the life that I live. And you also asked where do they find me at? So on Facebook, my name is Paris Moran, and then on Instagram it's P Moran, so Moran, and then USA. So yeah.
Bro, thank you so much, man. Like this podcast, as you know, every podcast, but this podcast is very important, you know, because I always try to have you here, but I know you're always busy because you're training, and I don't want to, you know, to be in the middle of that concentration. But man, what can I say, man? Thanks so much. I'm very grateful, you know,
Yes,
to
sir.
be in the past, to be with you in the team, and I always, and I actually I have my students and like, hey, this guy, and I always talk about you, Cisne, and like
Thank
these guys are doing great, and I hope one day you can be one of those guys. And
Yes,
man,
sir.
thank you so much, man. I know many people going to love this podcast, and we wish you the best. And I know one day you're gonna be fighting in UFC. And man, what can I say, man? Thank you for everything. Thank you
Yes,
for
sir.
your friendship. You always be humble, you know, you're not that cocky guy, but you always being that guy, very humble guy, very concentrated, and we love you, man.
Yes,
Honestly,
sir.
everyone inside in the team is like Paris, awesome. If
Oh,
you fight and he wins, and even win or lose, we are with you, and we
yes,
are
sir.
like, from the bottom of my heart, and we always gonna be there for you, brother.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, man. I love you, and I love the support, and I love everybody, man. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
man.
for having
Thank
me
you.
here.
Now, thank you. So, guys, this is Paris Moran, and this is the episode 28. I hope you like this. Please share, like this page. Remember, I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this for these guys because they are great people. There are
Yes,
people who sacrifice, and there are people who's changing the new generations values and everything. Guys, if you are to Houston and you want to contact him, of course he's a professional fighter, so I know sometimes he can't answer, but I know, guys, if you have any question about how to transition from Sanda to MMA, I know he's the one.
for sure.
Again,
Call me.
thank you guys. See you in the next one, and remember, it's not easy for me to be every week in this podcast because it's hard, to get good athletes around the world. But thank you guys for keeping the watching these videos and following this page. Thank you again, Paris.
Yes, sir.
Have a good Sunday and happy Mother's Day,
Awesome.
everyone in US.
Happy
Thank you,
Mother's
guys.
Day, everybody. Thank you for
Don't
having
leave.
me.
Give me 5 seconds. Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.